Welcome back, episode 1. It has been about 1 month. And what has led me to wanting to talk to you all again is this, which is your thread of communication, which is incredible. How long it goes on. It's incredible. And so to me, I would like to just talk about sort of the process and a bit about sort of the aftermath, what shifted, what's changed. The point here is I don't need anyone's opinions to be of a certain background. It's the understanding other opinions, it's the shifting chairs of perspective, it's being able to ask questions of the other side as stuff comes up, that you have an actual voice, a person that you know and hopefully can trust. So I would love to find out, what has the 4 chairs process been like? And I'll start with you, Shauna, for you.
Oh, well, like amazing and super great to feel like I have other people to bounce things off of, but like I know we honestly value each other and I'm not afraid to say, what do you think about this? Or, it's nice because sometimes when you put it out to the bigger, broader Facebook land, you just don't know what reactions you're going to get. And sometimes they're not great. And not to say I'm not posting still, but sometimes it's just more meaningful to actually know that I'm going to bring it to people that really want to talk about it genuinely, rather than just react to it.
Mm-hmm. And you said value each other, which is funny because you didn't know each other 30 days ago. And that's a really special place to be, to feel like you value people who A, were complete strangers, and B, you have on paper very little in common with. You don't live near each other, you don't necessarily have the same backgrounds. How did you come to value each other? Elizabeth, I'm gonna go to you.
I think one of the things that's led me to really value everyone's opinion in this group is the fact that I'm able to put something into the thread and get some honest opinion about it and not be criticized. Oh, well, you can't have that opinion. That's not okay. Da, da, da. So that's been a blessing that I'm able to actually risk putting maybe an unpopular opinion out there and get some honest opinions about it.
Mm-hmm. William, for you, how has this been experience for you of connecting with strangers and then having this dialogue sort of unfold? I can't keep up with you guys. I can't keep up with all the references and read this and see this and listen to this. I'm like, I can't. So it's amazing, the work.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
It's amazing.
It's awesome. I mean,
me too.
Different way of saying what everybody else already said, pretty much. But obviously, I enjoy talking about this stuff. And if you go into the Facebook multiverse or whatever you want to call it, you never know if you're going to really have a good conversation or if you're just yelling into the echo chamber. And I know that if you guys post something or ask a question, you want an honest answer. And I definitely want to hear what you all have to say about things. I appreciate actually getting stuff from other perspectives too. I hear names of people or things and I try to search, on my own, but it's a lot harder to find something that I feel like I can trust and want to waste my time on. But, if you guys post something, I'm definitely going to check that out immediately because I know that you put thought into not only reading or listening to it, but thinking it was valuable enough to post. So that makes it more valuable for me to check out.
When I was developing sort of Epic and the 4 chairs, the words that I really centered upon, that I wanted this process to bring, was conversations that are connecting, that are honest, and that are actually productive. Would you say that those 3, and this is an honest question, have been achieved by the system and the connection that you guys have?
Yes,
I
would
so.
say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you engage each other, again, sort of brought together arbitrarily, what is it that it offers or lets you have access to that isn't normally there? Because what I'm trying to do is see that I believe there's a need here for this. That in real life, in our families, in our social circles, in our Facebook circles, we don't really get tested. We don't see outside opinions come in. We certainly don't necessarily debate them constructively and productively. What is the need here that's being fulfilled?
For me, to truly understand.
Mhm.
You know, if all of your news sources are coming from one particular perspective, you're not truly understanding the nature of the issue.
Mhm.
And so it's helping me get a better full understanding.
And Shauna, for you?
It's helpful because I feel like I'm in a really like moderate place, and I always have been. I really like to try and understand multiple sides to an issue, and that's important to me. But it seems like not as many people are necessarily interested in that.
Mhm.
So it's nice to talk with other people who are genuinely interested in that.
Mhm.
So it's not like a chess match, you know, here's my source and then there's your source. Like, who's going to checkmate first? Like, I don't want it to feel like that. I want to feel like it's a genuine exchange of thought, because we've put some stuff in the group that, you know, I think is good, mostly just to share. Now I have this concern about what's going on. What do you think about that? And, you know, something that Elizabeth shared that I watched, and, you know, it was 50 something minutes. And I agree, it made me more likely to watch it, because I'm like, if Elizabeth shared this, there's got to be something really meaty and good here. And so I watched it, and it really got me thinking, and it kind of helped validate some of the things I was feeling but didn't know how to articulate. And then William weighed in, and I think he was like, well, I could post like, you know, 10 paragraphs, but I'll just talk to you all in 15 minutes for this group. Because yeah, we do a lot of talking back and forth, and it's good. I like to communicate with people, and maybe it's not everybody's jam, but it really has helped me.
Mhm. And in terms of like, I really feel that we are in the greatest communication crisis of our era is the inability to engage with an opposing viewpoint. And I mean on any level, a work difference, a difference in a classroom, just the opposing or different point of view doesn't get enmeshed into our lives. And that made me really nervous, because as I was going from one side, which was all left leaning, and I was venturing into the right, and I was like, oh, there are different ways of seeing this. How do I get people to experience this besides me? And I think that the communication, the humanization of one another, of the other, is always what I'm trying to do, because we're so dehumanized, and we don't see the humanity and the empathy and the thoughtfulness and all the little qualities, all the little signals that we read when we talk to someone, all those cues that we take in, doesn't happen anywhere else. And I really worry about the ability to solve problems if we can't debate them, we can't engage them, and the idea of compromise is just too scary for everyone. How do we solve problems then? William, what happens?
That's the question you give me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What's the
William, how
meaning
do
of
we
life?
solve this all, William? But I guess my question is, do you feel that the absence of that kind of conversation makes problems linger more than they need to?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And like you said, I think it's 100 times worse now than it has been. But with everything that's going on in the world, and I do think the pandemic has a lot to do with it, because a lot of us are just sitting at home, and, you know, we've watched everything we can on Netflix. So we have to think or reach out to people. I think that's helped. But I think with everything that's going on now, I think it is getting better. I think people are talking to each other more, and I'm hoping that we just continue moving in that direction. And the question that you asked earlier, I wanted to say that I feel like if you're just looking at social media, or your normal news outlets, or you're having the conversations with your normal group, I know for me, most of what I'm going to see is going to be left leaning. It's not because, you know, I'm afraid to see the other side, or not even that I'm not looking for it. That's just what I'm going to see. So everything that I'm going to see about, it's not that what I'm saying is bad, but everything that I'm seeing about the right is going to be pushed to the extreme or highlighting something really bad on purpose over and over again. And I only assume that it's the same way on the right. And some of the things that I've been looking at on the right, I'm like, well, that's completely missing the point. I mean, a lot of the stuff is what they're saying, I actually agree with. I agree with everything you're saying, but it's not a response to the issue that you say that you're talking about. So I feel like they're doing the same thing on the right. They're taking the extreme on the left, and then they're either making you very fearful of it, or they're trying to find a way to I guess for them to internalize why they're like that, because they're not really looking over there. They're just filtering it through their right-leaning sources. And there's that huge gap in the middle, and that's where most of us are.
I believe that. I believe that.
Yeah.
I feel like the other thing that I think about a lot, and I'm in entertainment, so I'm always aware of an edit, is agendas when it comes to conversation, whether it's a news organization, whether it's someone selling a book, whether it's someone, you know, who's a talking head, whether it's someone who's running for office and wants campaign donations. I find it very hard to have conversations with people who don't have an agenda, that all of the opinions brought to us through traditional channels and stuff are people have a very vested stake in the outcome of the conversation. And so do you feel that as well in terms of an agenda being always present? And did you feel the lack of it in the connection here?
Yes and yes.
Okay, you feel it.
Yes. I feel like everything that is posted, I have to be suspect of, and like try and figure out who's presenting this information and what do they stand to gain by presenting it. You know, in general, like Facebook or other social media sources that get tossed your way. So I do find that I'm trying to be, I can't read everything. I think that's the other problem right now is the information sharing so easy that people are quickly becoming overwhelmed and are shutting down and aren't wanting to investigate they're just getting tired. I think just really getting exhausted with it. And so I find that I have to really be careful about what I'm consuming and consuming too much, because it just kind of can just put you in a situation where you just kind of start getting overwhelmed. I'm sorry, I've used that word like 5 times, but overwhelmed is like really the only word that seems to fit, and exhausted, overwhelmed and exhausted. So I feel like, but in these exchanges, that's not what's happening, because I know these people, well, they came to be on this, so they were willing to entertain other ideas and really wanted to do that. And so I think while we were kind of all different and from different areas and have different ideas, that is the one thing in common that we do have, which is we really are okay with listening to others. And that's a key, because I don't know that everyone's willing to listen. People are really, it's like they have this personal fight to protect. There's a lot of self-protecting and a lot of not wanting to be challenged, finding it very threatening. And for me, I'm just like, I want to try and shape the best opinions I can, and I can't do that without talking to a lot of people with varying perspectives. So, yeah.
Have any of you taken any of either the information or any part of the conversation and shared it with family or friends or people in your lives? I'm curious what their responses were. If you had a piece of information that you came across or something in the conversation, did any of you share anything that you learned or heard in this conversation with people around you? And what was that response?
I shared the talk that I shared with you guys a couple of days ago with my mom, and I'm gonna get emotional. She said, "Elizabeth, thank you for teaching me." And that huge coming from my mom, because my mom is one of the smartest people I know. So for her to acknowledge that I had taught her something was really powerful. And then she shared it with a friend, and she then wrote and shared with me what he had said about it. And so it began a conversation among my mom and her friends, and so
Wow.
it was powerful.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Anybody else? Anyone else?
And I've shared, obviously I've got more to share because I've done a couple of these. But yeah, ours specifically, I've shared with quite a few people. And I think universally, everyone says it's great to watch people having a civil conversation from different perspectives about these issues. That's pretty much been the consensus from family to friends to coworkers. Everyone that has seen any of these that I've talked to, they love the idea of being able to watch people actually have this conversation the way that we've been able to have it.
I think that's the biggest difference I'm feeling now, is just trying to bend my brain to think, how is this affecting someone else that lives differently than I do or looks differently than I do?
Speaking of,
Hey,
Yeah.
sweetheart.
Okay, I'll be down shortly to put the TV back on. I don't know what's happening with the TV. I'm not sure. Well, my last question, for someone who is thinking of doing this, 4 chairs, what would each of you say? We'll start with William, because I like to pick on William.
I say absolutely. I did, what, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah, I recommend it from anybody, from the biggest skeptic to someone who I know just has a wealth of information that could be helpful, or just everybody from every different background should get together and have conversations about difficult things. Right now, this is the thing of the moment. Thank God, I'm very happy about that. But yeah, even 4 chairs about other subjects, I'd love to join in. I mean, whether I can help people learn, or more importantly, I learn stuff. So I think it's great to have these conversations.
Great, great. Shauna?
Yeah, I do. I would encourage anyone. And there's some people I've thought of that are like, maybe I should like tell Riaz, but I know that you've probably reached your max. But if you need names,
I'm
could
always
name.
open. Always open.
But yeah, I just think it's really good and important work that you're doing, that I feel like hopefully it's giving some people some hope. Because I had a friend that I said, will you just watch this video? I was in it. And he just refused, and it made me very sad. And he just kind of doubled down and said, it's just too difficult a topic, and kindness is the answer, and that's it. And I was just like, but this is kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Kindness is listening. This was a great experience. This was not slamming each other or calling names. Like, this was a really, really uplifting experience. And I think more people need to have communication that is like that, to realize, oh, it can really be like this. And that's awesome. And maybe it'll change how I communicate with others, knowing I can elevate things from where people tend to, kind of be in the gutter. I don't have to hang out in the gutter when I communicate with people.
Yeah. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. And one thing I would say is that anybody who wants to participate in this has to go in with a willing heart. You have to be willing to be challenged. You have to be willing to be a little uncomfortable and be okay with that, and try to learn from the process, and be willing to listen, and listen to something that maybe you hadn't considered before. And if you're willing to do that, it's been a really great thing to be a part of.
I like when you said hope, because I do feel like it just gets so dark out there. And I think when you have a productive conversation, it doesn't fix everything, but there's a little bit of hope that comes from it. And you feel a little better, because it's not me versus them, us versus them. Like, it's a little bit more gray than that. It's not as black and white. It's gray than that. When you three of you are politically very different, and you may have very different approaches to how to solve this. And we've discussed some of them in the text exchanges, and that's fine. But I'm amazed that people are almost unwilling to believe that there are reasonable, kind people who have different opinions about how to solve problems that we all share. Thank you all. I wish you all a lovely day, and we'll probably be speaking later tonight.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Good seeing you guys again.